Hello, and welcome to Exit Strategy once again. It's Wednesday, or whenever you downloaded it. I notice a few of you downloaded on Thursdays. Yes, I look at the analytics. I know where you are, and I don't know where you are. This is not a Big Brother situation. Oh my God, we got to start the show. This is weird already. Okay, welcome to the show. Welcome to Exit Strategy. I'm glad you're here. I have a good episode for you this week. I have my good friend Dave Ross on the show. But before I mention Dave Ross, before I get into what we'll be hearing today, let's talk about exit strategy. Oh my God, this thing is so much fun to do. It's so rewarding to me. I'm enjoying learning how to interview people. I'm enjoying hearing people are enjoying the podcast. I like it. There's a lot of positive energy about it, and it's really helping me get through any insecurities I might have about doing a podcast, because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm learning, and I hope you are tolerant of hearing somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing. But here's something that I want to throw out. Hey, here's an idea. I've been talking all about the rate, review, subscribe, and I'm sick of talking about it. Still do it, but let me tell you what you could do. What would be super fun is I'd like to hear from you. I'd love to know where you live, what you do. Are you a comedian? Are you not a comedian? What do you think of the show? What are your favorite parts? What do you dig? Introduce yourself. Email us. Email the show at exitstrategypod@gmail.com. Exitstrategypod@gmail.com. There's also, it's in the description. If you look at the episode description, if you need it written out, shoot an email. Let's hear what you got to say. I'd love to know what you enjoy, and maybe I'll do more of it. Maybe I'll indulge you. I don't know. You could tell me what you don't like about the show. I'm not like really jonesing for that right now, but I suppose if it's like desperate, and if it's an audio thing, go to hell. I don't have a producer. I can't fix it. Maybe, hey, if you want to send me a resume, I'm taking resumes for pro bono engineers. How about that? But anyway, whatever you got to tell me, tell it to me over email. Exitstrategypod@gmail.com. Send an email. Let us know what you think of the show. Now, today, we have a good friend on the show. His name is Dave Ross, and what I got to say about Dave? I've known Dave Ross for quite a long time. We've lived together, we've worked together, we've spent a lot of time around one another. So I think that we have a lot of common ground in what we talk about. So I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going to come up in the conversation before, so you kind of know what we're talking about. Let you in, because we have a tendency to get a little inside baseball. Dave Ross is the creator and how I met him is he was the creator of a great Los Angeles stand-up comedy show called Holy Fuck. And he started it in, I believe, 2010 at the Downtown Independent in downtown Los Angeles, a huge venue that he turned from a show that a young, didn't know what he was doing Dave Ross show he began. This sentence has gone off the rails. He started it off as a little small show in this giant theater, and he turned it into a giant show in a giant theater. Holy Fuck was something special, and a few years into it, he brought me onto the team, and it really was a huge opportunity for me. It's where I learned how to do stand-up better. It's where I learned how to get consistently better. I learned how to write things. I learned how to follow huge comics. I really learned a lot working on this show, and we talk about it a little bit in the episode, and I just want you to know what it is we're talking about, because I don't know how many people are from LA or from LA comedy. So, and also, hey, email me, let me know, so I talk about things that you want to hear about. But Dave Ross is a great dude, and he is he's very welcoming, and that's one of the first things that I noticed when I met him, because I met him at that theater. I met him at the Downtown Independent. He, in addition to running Holy Fuck in the 250-seat auditorium, he also used to run an open mic in the attic storage room of that very theater. And the week that I went to that open mic, and I was going to meet Dave Ross I didn't go thinking like, oh, I'm going to meet Dave Ross. I didn't know who he was. But I went there thinking I was going to go to an open mic in a tiny attic storeroom, because that was enticing for some reason. But I don't know why, something got mixed up. We couldn't do it in there. So we did an open mic night in a 250-seat movie theater. So imagine a giant auditorium, like where you would see the Avengers. And now imagine 12 comedians, each taking a turn, going up to the stage in this massive, massive room. And the second I knew we were going to do that open mic in that giant theater, I thought to myself, this is not going to go well. This is going to be a terrible experience. But turns out Dave is a guy that fosters good energy at shows. He's very, very, very welcoming, and it turned from a thing that I thought was daunting to a very, very fun night. And it was one of the first nights in my very, very young comedy career where I felt welcomed. And from then on, I really... That's kind of where I blossomed, I would say, and where I met a lot of great friends, starting at that particular point in time. So Dave Ross is a very important nexus in my comedy career. So I'm very glad that I get to talk to him. We have a very real conversation about frustrations in comedy and how hard it is and why we want to maybe think about exit strategies, what is pressing us to make the decisions that we make, and also what is still fueling us, what we want to get out of it, and why we continue to maybe make the poor financial decisions and steamroll ourselves into the next creative project. There's a lot of psychological issues going on in your standard comedy brain. So we're gonna get into that, and I think that's all you got to know. Also, I'm Jeff. I don't know if I ever introduced myself in this episode. What you're about to hear is Jeff Wattenhofer, me, interviewing Dave Ross, and we're gonna do that in just a bit. So stay with it, man. Wait, how does it go? I'm the one and the two?
No, the ones and twos are like the...
That's the turntables, right?
Yeah. Or I thought it was just the... I guess I've always thought it was the volume knobs, but now that I think about it, that's for sure wrong.
Yeah. This is you're on the one is the volume, and then the two is the tone.
And 3 and 4 are time and space. Are we recording right now?
I do that thing where Mark Maron does, where he just hit it, and then if we can get into it, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then when I do be like, all right, we're starting, and then people are like, what?
They're jolted.
Jolted into it.
I get it, man. I podcast.
You used to podcast.
I got a new one coming.
Oh, you got a new podcast coming out? I don't want to get into it, but
we can get into it. I don't care.
What is your new podcast?
It's called Suicide Buddies.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Hampton Yount and I are hosting it. It's on Feral. And it's, first of all, it's interesting how excited Feral Audio is about a suicide podcast, but they're over the moon about it. So I'm encouraged. And it's it's we didn't come up with it. We actually came up with it having not listened to My Favorite Murder, but it's similar in format to My Favorite Murder. Like we talk about our we shoot the shit at the beginning and talk about our own feelings about suicide, and then also most of the episode is we take one suicide in history and like break it down and talk about it. And it's fun, man. It's super interesting. And I've been doing all this research as a result of it, and I had no idea just how many... Well, I guess I knew how many suicides there were in history, but how many, like, fascinating and enlightening suicides there are in history.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man. Like, my favorite one lately...
Such a weird phrase.
My favorite suicide lately...
My go-to suicide right now is...
We're going to do an episode about this in, I don't know, a couple months. But there was this Titanic survivor. Uh-huh. She was a stewardess on the Titanic. And I say stewardess because they were called that then.
Hey, be
correct.
Correct.
I don't know how judgy your audience is.
I don't know how judgy my audience is. We're going to find out this time.
I mean, you should be judgy, I think, of the term stewardess.
Yeah.
But that's what they were called on the Titanic.
That was on her application.
Her resume, which I read.
Wow. You really dug deep.
Yeah. She actually saved her people's lives. Like, each stewardess was in the care of, however many cabins.
Yeah.
And she, along with one of the officers, got these people out onto a lifeboat and saved their and her own life. And then, like, however many years later, she was on a boat, on another big steamboat going somewhere. I think it's a steamboat. She wasn't working. She was just going from one place to another.
Just traveling on a boat.
And then the boat went through fog, and she jumped off the boat. So she had like PTSD.
Oh God!
And she like saw the fog and was like, "Fuck this!
I ain't doing another Titanic, baby. I'm out."
Yeah, and the ship was fine, and nothing happened to it. But she.
Oh wow!
Totally. It's yeah.
That's nuts.
Anyway, so that's what I've been up to, Jeff.
Yeah, it's very lighthearted. Well, has that dropped yet? Is that a podcast yet, or is that happening?
No, it starts next week.
Little preview.
Yeah, what good timing. And look at us naturally going into that topic that plugs my life.
We plugged at the beginning. We won't plug at the end now. Or you could plug something else.
Oh, we're plugging it at the end.
Honestly, people are like, oh, plug at the end. Let's plug throughout the show. Just continually bring up stuff that you're doing.
You and me start a podcast that's called Only Plugs.
Only Plugs. Stop talking about nonsense and start plugging your damn career. I could plug Dave's career for weeks.
Oh yeah?
Well, yeah. I mean, just the stuff that we've done alone. We've
done so much.
We ran a show together. We lived together.
Yeah, dude. Our career
was a project.
as roommates was pretty long.
We had a really good run as roommates, I would say.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But also, I think that we should talk about, and I think this is kind of get into who you are and how you sort of started in comedy a little bit, because we've brought up Holy Fuck, the show, on a couple of shows.
Sure.
And I don't think that because it's part of my story a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the audience, whoever's listening, that isn't in LA's comedy scene, I don't think they quite know what it is. So I think that you are the perfect person to explain the origins of Holy Fuck.
Wow.
And I want it done because I know you've been asked this before. I want it explained in a way you've never explained it before.
Well, it definitely will be because I definitely have explained it a bunch of times, but years ago.
It's been a while.
Like I've sort of the way that life and life and comedy in general have taken me. I haven't really been around as much.
Yeah.
And so I really haven't been on podcasts and stuff that much in the past couple years.
Oh, welcome back.
So, hey, yeah. I was thinking about that on the way over. Like, I think this might be the first time I was interviewed on a podcast in like a year.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Get your feet wet again before you start your own damn podcast. But Holy Fuck was a big show. It ballooned into a huge show, but it had like a kind of insane beginning.
It did, yeah. Forgive me. It's just funny to think about because it's just so long ago now.
Yeah.
And and I'll get into it, but like I was driving by the theater the other day, and I remembered when like a year or two ago I called you and I was like, hey, let's maybe do like a one-off bring Holy Fuck back type thing. Yeah. And it still made sense then, but I was thinking about how, like, if we did it now, it would make because now 0 people know what it is except our friends.
Yeah. It's this weird, like, window of time where a lot of people came up, a lot of people broke from working, like, big rooms in Los Angeles to TV gigs. Like, it really was this very specific moment in time.
I've been thinking about this so much because comedy is so weird right now in LA. Yeah. It's so bizarre. I very rarely have a conversation with a comedian I respect where they say that they have enough stage time.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that the comedians I respect, I said that specifically because I think, there are a lot of people that haven't been doing it that long, and I guess I respect those people too. But you know what I mean? People who've been doing comedy a long time that are very good at it, like, don't get up enough. And also, people like drop. I run a show now called Good Heroin, and it's a good show. And people drop out of it, sometimes no show, that are bigger comics. And just in general, I feel tonally the LA comedy scene, just the places I go and the people I talk to, it feels sad. It feels depressed. People don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of people aren't hungry. And one feeds to the other. It's like a chicken egg sort of thing. And it's just fascinating because when we started and we came up, which is when Holy Fuck started, I felt so invigorated and hungry. And that came from both within me and watching the bigger comedians and how they acted. Mm-hmm. And like, that's, I guess, really what I'm talking about. And one of the things that made Holy Fuck special, like Eric Andre, who is a superstar now.
Yeah.
He was already, I mean, he wasn't famous, but he's
on his way.
He was one of the most coveted stand-ups in LA back then.
Yeah.
He would beg me to do the show. He would text me day of, be like, come on, man, can I get a spot? And we don't really have anyone doing that.
Yeah.
And, there's got to be so many reasons for it, and I have no judgment, but I do wonder where our hunger went, because it was really special. And so, Holy Fuck, it definitely happened now, looking back at this period in LA comedy history that was, truly exciting.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to have started it and done it then and had no idea that we were lucky. We just thought the comedy was always this exciting and filled with, there would always be great audiences and a bunch of young comics excited about it and older comics who wanted to do our shows and stuff.
And several big shows in town at that point. I'd say in the...
it was when Meltdown... Right, Kumail moved here around then.
Yeah, there was the Meltdown. You wanted to do the Meltdown so bad. There was...
That's when... Because Nerdist started then,
yeah.
too.
It was like a coveted show to do.
Yeah. Also, in other cities, the Grawlix was happening in Denver, and the Denver became this amazing, incredible scene that was also somehow very small, with a core group of 30, 40 comedians.
It does feel like things have kind of scattered a little bit. There isn't that cohesive... When I think of, what's the big show in Los Angeles, I feel like in 7 years ago there was 5, and now I feel like there's maybe 2, and I don't even know what they are. There isn't a big, this is the comedy show that's the best in L.A., and I want to be on it so bad, and I'm hungry to be on it.
Right, the getting on the show itself is a credit.
Yeah.
Well, part of that comes from the fact that you're older now, and you've been down that road.
That's true, that is true.
So, you have Meltdown under your belt and stuff like that. But also, I think the thing that makes it more feel like that is the lack of cohesion in our community. Like if you think about... Okay, so the other thing that Jeff and I used to do is run an open mic together, and that was another amazing thing that was kind of like a staple in our comedy scene. Monday night was one of my favorite nights of the week back then.
When we ran an open mic?
We ran an open mic because that mic was really good. And so we would do the mic, and then Tiger Lily was Mondays in Gower Gulch.
That was the big one.
That was the big show. Everyone wanted to do it.
And famous people would be.
And even the famous people that weren't doing the show that week would hang out.
Yeah.
It
was a central place that you knew you would see your friends, you'd see the biggest comics in town. You knew what you were getting into. It was a big night.
Totally. And then, so we had our mic, and then we could go to that show and watch. And after going that show for a while, you would meet I don't know, Dana Gould and all those people who did the show. And then J.C. Coakley started Public House. So we could go do our mic, go watch this amazing show and hang out with industry and these big comedians, and then go to Public House. And a lot of those industry and big comics would go there. And Public House was a big drunk shit show. It was a tough show.
But it was the perfect
then you had
cap
a
of the
big
night.
Drunk night.
Yep.
And it was a little easier to get on that show. And so people could see you do stand-up. And it was sort of a segue into people getting to know you as a comedian.
I haven't thought of that Monday night in Los Angeles in a while, but that's true. It was you got a little bit of everything.
I really feel like, at least on the alt or east side of things, we're kind of missing stuff like that. And Olivia, who I run Good Heroin with, we talk a lot about how we're trying to get a late show happening on Saturday nights in Echo Park to sort of create that feel again, because I do. Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot, man. I want to help this
well, God bless
people
you.
Are bummed. Yeah. People are not enough stage time. Not everyone knows each other anymore. Everyone feels kind of lost on what to even do.
Yeah.
We have to, this excitement, this hunger, this love of it. And I know we all love doing stand up, but just so many people, and I just want us to come back together, and just be this exciting home for comedy again.
That's great.
Which is what Holy Fuck was. And what's so weird about it is that show happened because some friends of mine, some close friends of both of us, who I'll just say Chris Register, who started Riot with you and Abby
and you
and me, you know,
a little bit.
Well, with me, yeah. And that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's.
He fucking signed a 4-year lease on an art gallery in downtown LA, and he couldn't pay his rent, so they turned it into an illegal speakeasy. Boom. And then they got busted by Vice cops, and so they needed other stuff there. So they asked me to do a comedy show. I did one. I got Matt Bronger for the first one, and you're just at this point you are. Muppet Baby Dave Ross. 3 months into stand-up.
Don't know anything about stand-up
totally.
Practically. And you're running a show trying to get big names that you're very you respect.
Facebook. That's the thing about Matt Bronger and Kyle Kinane were the first two people I asked to do it. Mm-hmm. Kyle was the first person I messaged, and I'll never forget his message. He was like, I'm out of town that week, but any show with "fuck" in the title, I'll do. And I was so excited he wrote me back.
Yeah.
Because they felt inaccessible to me.
Yeah.
They were rock stars to me. And
they were the big kids.
So he headlined the second one. Matt Bronger was headlining the first one. They get evicted from their place.
The speakeasy.
And it's so funny. I felt like I've told Matt this too. I can't let Matt Bronger down. And now I know that if a show gets canceled and you tell a comic, they're like, yeah, no worries. It happens all the time.
I'll do something else.
Yeah. I mean, I do 1 million spots a week. But I was like, I can't let Matt Bronger down. And so I just searched all over downtown for another venue and couldn't find a good one. And my friend Yvonne was bugging me that the movie theater he worked at, Downtown Independent.
Big one screen, 250-seat theater in downtown LA.
So nice, so great. 250-seat theater. And I kept being like, nah, man, it's 250 seats. I can't fill that. And he was like, we can figure it out. And eventually I didn't have a venue, so I told him I wanted to do it there. And so we did it. And I guess this is the part of the story that I always used to tell, but I'll tell it too because it's interesting.
Okay.
The theater double booked me for the first show, and I'm arguing with the dude on the phone while at work at this startup where I was a web developer called MyShape.
Contact Dave Ross for all your web developing needs.
Yeah, I'll make your website. I won't, but you can email me if you want.
He'll read your email for sure.
And he was like, well, this is how well the theater was doing. He was like, if anyone comes to the movie, you have to do your show at 11. But if no one comes, we'll just do the show at 9. And so I just crossed my fingers and hope no one came because a lot of people didn't come sometimes. I mean, sometimes no one came.
Yeah, they do movies for 2 people.
Yeah, it was not
beyond,
doing well.
Yeah.
So this movie, we were I'm in the lobby with some of my friends, and Yvonne is behind the concessions counter, and it's 8:59, and we're we're gonna make it. And then a dude walks in, goes up to the counter, and Yvonne, bless his soul, looked at the guy and was like, "Oh, we actually don't have a movie at 9. We have a comedy show." And he was like, "Oh, how much is it?" And Yvonne was like, "It's free, and sorry about the movie. We'll give you some free tickets." And the guy was like, "This is great." And,
perfect.
And then he went into the show. So that was at the end of 2009, and I was
you were a little baby running this show that was too
huge immediately.
You couldn't. There's no way. Even if you were 6 years in, you'd still be like, "This is too much."
To give you a little perspective on how big it was, I started that in 2009, the year anniversary show. Mm-hmm. So many people came to it that the room was over capacity, and there were people lined up down the street trying to get in that I was apologizing to because I literally just couldn't let them in.
Fire marshal would shut us down if you let those people in.
The last ever Holy Fuck was in July of
2013?
Yeah, July of 2013. And 1,000 people came. Do you remember that? There were 150 people on the guest list.
It was insane.
We got in our first and only ever argument.
Yeah, we got testy that night.
Yeah, you yelled at me. And I was like...
By the way, a couple years before this, I joined Holy Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
In the history of
I
it.
ran the show bi-weekly for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to make it weekly. And Jeff was my favorite. And so I was like, you should run it with me. And then we got our friend Jess to book it. And then, she got married and is a food scientist, so she stopped.
Yeah, she didn't have time for that shit.
But it was weird. Like, it grew in size, and more people knew about it, and we got a bunch of write-ups and stuff. But it was pretty big right away.
Yeah,
it was weird because I was bad at stand-up, like really fucking bad.
I know,
man.
you had to learn how to do stand-up in front of a lot of people.
Dude, you know, it's one of the reasons I ended the show, and there were numerous reasons, but one of the big reasons was somewhere near the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, this dude, like stereotypical Hollywood dude, comes out of the showroom, and I'm like in the lobby doing something, and I'm not even kidding, like wearing a suit with no tie and the top button unbuttoned and his hair slicked, and he's just like so slick, and he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, you're Dave Ross, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Dude, everyone I work with has always been telling me to come to this show, and I finally came, and dude, it's the best show." And I was like, "Oh man, thank you so much. Where do you work?" And he goes, "CAA." And I was just like, "Oh, cool." So everyone at CAA comes here, and I do not have a manager.
Yeah.
Or agent. This sucks.
Or from night to night, like a polished act. You're there.
Dude, I bombed all the time there.
When you host that show, you are on display every week. Everyone else comes once a week with the best shit they've got, but you are there. You could be having the worst day of your life, and you're on the biggest show in town, and you just got to be good. I mean, that show really did. I know for me, it made me a lot better.
Oh,
quick.
Dude, absolutely. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like, you know, sure, I definitely. There are probably still people that need convincing of me because of how hard they saw me bomb at Holy Fuck.
Yeah.
But the audience gave us a lot of leeway. Because if you came more than a couple times, you sort of got that what was happening was that we didn't want to repeat material, and we're learning. And I think people liked it because you would come. Because also we would repeat book our friends, and like so Barbara Gray and Megan Keister and Alan Strickland Williams and Jake Weissman and Brandy Posey, like they did it more frequently than others.
Yeah,
and you got to see them grow along with the show too. And I mean, if it were me, I would think that was cool.
Yeah, you get to see people and see their progression. I mean, it really was like a comedy nerd's dream.
It was
that show,
and yeah, there were people that would come. We had like fans of that show. I got recognized on the street all the time in Echo Park.
I did too. It was weird.
It was so awesome.
It's so incredible because like I just did your show, Good Heroin, the other day, and you introduced me as. We used to run a show together, Holy Fuck, and then one person just silently clapped. Like all that recognition.
It does slowly dwindle. Yeah, I mean, my buddy Brian Parker, you know him. He was in this band called Sweetheart that would tour, and they were like a sort of like screamo Thursday-ish sounding band. And
I'm pretending I know what that means.
It doesn't matter.
What's the Thursday part of
Thursday is a band.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a like screamo, but like a Thursday vibe, you know?
yeah. Like Tuesday at 4 p.m.
How you screamo midweek?
Yeah.
He was in a screamo band.
They have a line in one of their songs that he told me about once that like always hits him whenever he hears it, which is I'm butchering it. I'm going to be paraphrasing, but it's like 5 years from now, no one's going to give a shit about this but me.
Oh, man.
And it's weird. It's like, yeah, people love something, and then they move on.
Yep.
And also the world moves on because everything is of a time and place. Even things that are massively famous are of a time and place.
Yeah, and there's even a window before you're nostalgic about it.
And that's why I end things. That's why I ended Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck could have gone on.
Yeah,
I mean, also, having started Holy Fuck at 9 months in, doing it for 3 years, I got a little worried about, because I was, you know, inarguably getting booked off that stuff. And I did not want to be known as I didn't want anyone to be able to say, that dude only gets booked because he runs a big show.
People want to be on his show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, it could have gone for a long time and then like slowly dwindled out.
That would have been sad, though.
But it's just good. I think it's good to like create something and give it an end date so you can all say goodbye and not so you have the memories. Because if you let it peter out, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now if it petered out.
Yeah, we'd just be like...
I guess you and I would.
We'd have a conversation, and I'd be like,
it was good.
Last week was fun, right?
Yeah, totally. Man, why don't people come anymore?
Oh God, we should
have ended it 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Well, I'm glad that we got to get the holy fuck lore out there a little bit. Raise a little recognition for the show you created, for God's sake.
The one thing about it, here's another thing, dude, that was so cool about it. So the show's in the movie theater, and it's a great movie theater. And I also had a sketch group at the time. I mean, I still do.
Women.
And, we're on hiatus or whatever you would call it because two of us are making a television program. But back then we made a video a week that I shot on a flip cam.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then we had this weekly show. So every week we got to show our flip cam sketches on a movie screen. And if our friends shot videos, it was this weird thing where, like, for some reason, we were allowed by the world to have a 200-seat theater once a week in which us and our friends could do stand-up to a good crowd and show our sketches to them at the beginning of every show.
On like a 50-foot, a massive movie screen.
Every time Megan Keister did the show, she came up with some bit that involved the movie screen.
Yeah, it was such a playground.
It was so, oh my God. It was the best. It was the best thing.
We should start a podcast just remembering Holy Fuck. With Jeff and
Go
Dave.
week by week through every lineup and see if we can remember what happened that week.
That I kind of want to do now.
That would be weirdly fun. If you and I get like famous to the point where that would be appealing to people, we should do that.
People just would be like we have a little allowance for severe meandering.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, there were like fights and stuff. Do you remember when that dude from? Because also, like, we got trapped in one week during the Occupy raid because the LAPD put a 10-block perimeter and we were within it.
That was like 2 blocks away. The Occupy was getting busted by the cops. Occupy LA on City Hall, and the crowd at the beginning of the night was huge. It was a big night. I think we had a big comic that night.
It was the only show where the crowd got smaller and smaller throughout. Because all our crowd were like 20-year-old drunks who would show up slowly throughout the night and then go get drunk after.
But this night, you just saw people take out their phone and be like, "Oh, I'm in danger. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see Kyle Kinane next week or something." You know?
I think it was Howard Kramer was up last, and he was like, "What happened?"
I think I did have to apologize. Like, sorry, man, Occupied bus. There's a riot over there.
Sorry, dude. There were people being oppressed nearby.
Yeah, the cops, man. They're just.
Did you go down there with us?
I did go down there. I saw it. It was
freaky, man.
One of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life to see these peaceful tented protesters, and it was
cops
like
in riot gear, man.
Storming out of City Hall like 2 by 2. It looked like a dystopian movie.
It absolutely did. And then they started forming lines around us, and I didn't want to get trapped, and I had to run through them.
I do remember running away because like they cut off every single street, so your exit points got to where you're like, that is the only street we can exit. We weren't even part of it, but we would have gone to jail just by virtue of the fact that we were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, totally.
See, comedy shows aren't having riots anymore.
Yeah, God, what happened?
Well, I think we could go all night.
That's actually true.
That's true. So we gotta stick with the theme of the podcast because my fans demand. I don't know if they demand it or not. Maybe they demand it.
That's why they're listening.
That's why they're listening.
Yeah.
So Dave, you've been doing stand-up now for close to a decade. You've podcasted. Sure. You've been in sketches. You've been on television. You've done all this stuff. But let's say you couldn't do that anymore. You need an exit strategy.
Oh, man.
I'm going to come up with a way. Like, I feel like every week when I bring up this portion, it's just like, here's the same 2 sentences and go. But if you had, thinking about like,
I've thought about it.
Oh, you've thought about it? Okay.
Of course I have.
Who
hasn't? Every comedian's thought about it. I mean, I think about it a lot now because, man. I'm going to try to say this briefly because the whole conversation will just become about this.
Okay.
But, like, I was at a party once and Mike Lawrence, I just overheard him say, "Man, you always think comedy's going to get easier, but it gets harder." And it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons it gets harder is that you, like, become involved in bigger and bigger, like, higher stakes things. Mm-hmm. And I'm still, involved in the lowest stakes of those higher stakes things. Well, I don't know if that's...
There's new, like every step up you get creatively and
other
career-wise.
You get involved in other people with other people.
There's other stuff you got to deal with you didn't know
Whether
existed.
it's like having a manager and then having agents, or then like talking to network execs, or just people who own things who want you to write stuff for them.
Or just not realizing that when you're a freelance worker, you have to pay taxes on that at the end of the year. Like there's just things that come up that you're like, oh my God, I know there's no playbook. You don't know what's coming.
This is my first year of doing my taxes in that way, and wow, I got screwed. I really deducted. And,
getcha.
Damn, dude. But yeah, so it gets weird. And like Hollywood it's a strange environment where like people that you love and seem to love you, like a lot of them fade away. Yeah. A lot of them will randomly get weird on you. And I try to always chalk that up to like, it's just so hard, and we're all like trying to, like, we're all just fucked in the head from trying to like not have to scrimp and save to stay alive. But it's like harsh and weird, and so numerous times I've been like, oh man, I don't know,
gotta get out of here.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. And so here's my pie in the sky.
What's your pie in the sky
dream.
comedy dream plan?
Ideally, I will get to a place in comedy where I'm like, big enough where I'm like comedy cool, where I'm like coveted in comedy.
Okay. I was like, please define comedy cool.
I'm comedy cool.
I'm not cool, but like comedically.
I don't even know. Yeah.
You're somebody like. Could I say what I think you mean by that? Like how Kyle Kinane is.
Yes, Kyle Kinane is a perfect example. Someone who was like coveted by everyone who makes comedy on TV and festivals and local shows, but not so famous that his life sucks.
Yeah, he's well respected, but he's not Kevin Hart.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I could like move to a town that I like. I got some.
Got a few in your back pocket?
Des Moines is a big one.
Whoa.
Big fan of Des Moines, Iowa.
Big fan of Des Moines.
Yeah, I like Madison, Wisconsin a lot.
You're going Midwest.
Atlanta, though, that's a little bit bigger. That's the thing. Like Atlanta, Portland, Austin, Chicago are great places too, but they're a little bit bigger than what I'm looking for. Like a place where people love to see good stuff. Yeah. And like there is a comedy scene that I can be a part of, but also help foster and make bigger, and open a beer bar with a little venue attached. And a beer bar that's good, that's nice, that people want to be in, that can sustain itself. Because, look, man, I love beer.
I love beer, baby.
And then there's like a theater in the back, and we can have shows, and I can perform there when I want, and the people who live there think it's cool that I'm there because, dude, I'm comedy cool in this fantasy.
Welcome to Comedy Cool with Dave Ross.
But I don't have to, and then I can book my friends coming through if they're in the area or whatever, and just like have my own little home hub of comedy in this town, this small-ish city that I like, and lead like a simple life where I have a business and get to do stand-up whenever I want, but I don't have to worry about industry shit.
So the aspect of the smaller town is it's less like, because it would be way easier to live in Des Moines just financially, but like you just kind of don't want to be around like the Hollywood kind of part of it.
Yeah, it's starting to get to me, and I'm not even that far into it. And what's weird is that, like, I mean, I guess I'll just say this. I hesitated to say it twice, but I mean, whatever. It's your podcast. We're old friends. So my life is weird right now because I sold a show to Comedy Central, and it's a script deal. So that makes numerous things weird. First of all, I sold a show to Comedy Central. Yeah. That's insane.
That's huge.
I never could have imagined I would do that. But then also a script deal means I sold the idea. I haven't written the pilot. So now I'm in my room writing a pilot for money all day, every day. Yeah. And it is insane.
That sounds like maddening.
Yes, because I'm a stand-up, and stand-up's by far my main thing. And I love to make stuff. I've always wanted to make a TV show in comedy, but it's never been my top thing. And the fact that, and I also have always loved collaborating. That's why, like, we did Holy Fuck together. I did Women with those three guys. Terrified with Anna and Nerdist, you know.
Everything you've ever done, you've always brought in someone else.
Always.
You've always done that.
And luckily, making a TV show, there has to be a cast. So eventually
you'll have that. But
fingers
for right
crossed,
now,
knock on wood, it gets made, which I think it will. It's so good. Best TV show of all time. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. You heard it here first, folks. Hollywood exclusive. We got him here. This is the beginning of the promo drive for this show.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in a room all alone, and you got to be like, create the big thing.
But I'm so used to being around people and doing things for people. Yeah. And it's just driving me a little crazy, which is the other reason I think I'm thinking of this.
But if you did, let's explore Des Moines. I keep going to
Sure.
Des Moines because it's closest to where I grew up. Here's something that I've noticed about you in regards to you running a show, and this is why I think it's cool that if you did go to Des Moines and ran something, you have a very high quality control. You have like very high standards for what it means to run a show, what should be the atmosphere at a show. You don't just like throw a mic up there and half-ass it. Like
That's
you create
true.
a big thing. And I think that would be super exciting for you to do that in a town that already is, no offense to Des Moines, but probably already has kind of a lower standard for what a show should be.
Well, let me tell you that I don't think that's true.
Oh, okay.
About Des Moines, Iowa. I know why you say that.
Yeah.
It's not one of the cities you think of.
They're not
kind
used
of
to
in
getting
general.
entertainment, so when they get it, they're very appreciative of it.
Absolutely. There's a guy there named Dan Unthan who runs great shit there. He runs this great festival and some other shows, and we're very similar in that way.
Yeah.
I would probably want to go into business with Dan if I moved to Des Moines.
You hear that, Dan?
Dan, you listen up.
Dave's on his way. He's back in his car right
I'm
now.
like already. I have a knapsack. So yes, but no. To your point, I've thought of this. So okay, the venue would need to be small enough that it could like get packed out, no problem. That it felt full with 20 people in there, but it was full with 100 people in there.
Yeah, you want to have a venue that's big enough to feel fun, but small enough that no show ever feels sad and under
Exactly.
Audience.
Don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah.
I also would like it to be arranged in such a way that I could have bands in there or whatever. But so here's another thing. Running a good show, one of the things that I've really learned is that the uniqueness of the venue sort of like it adds a great deal to the show. It's pretty rare in LA that a show not at a club has a big following and there are multiple shows at that venue.
Yeah.
And so I really have like sort of thought of like if I'm going to have this venue that's going to have multiple shows and bring people through, I got to find a way to to make it unique every night. And then so I've like sort of like designed these things in my head that are like the walls are like sort of. I would need money for this, but so like
let's assume you have money.
I have a shitload of money.
Yeah,
like glass walls on the left and right. With sort of like, a screen in the back in a backstage area. But like left and right side of the room are glass with these sort of like rolling, these canvas rollers, if that makes sense. Like a roller at the top and a roller at the bottom with sort of like a piece of canvas held between the two of them.
Okay.
So ideally, you could make a piece of art the size of the wall and hang it there. And then for the next show, like roll through it and have completely different art.
So like every show has a different theater, basically, in the same theater.
And then sometimes you would just like remove the rollers entirely and just use a projector to project images on the wall, on the glass to make it look completely different. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cockamamie idea, but might be possible.
But I think it's interesting that like it's not just like I don't know, maybe I'll do this, but like it's gotten to the point in your head where you're like, okay, how would I make it like my own and cool? Like you've gone the next step.
Totally. And if this is documented now, by the way, if you steal this idea, I'm going to send this to the patent office.
Nobody in Des Moines buy canvas.
No canvas.
No canvas. Dave's bought all the canvas in Des Moines and Iowa City.
Another place that I really very much might retire is Toronto.
Oh.
And here's the thing. All of my ideas of retirement or leaving LA always involve continuing to do stand-up. Always.
Dude, I've said it to just about everybody. No one has said an exit strategy where they're also like, and I will never do stand-up again. It's never happened. No one that does stand-up is ever going to be content not doing it.
I think that if you stay into stand-up for 5 years, you love it.
Yeah.
You've got to. There's some, Chelsea Peretti said she quit. She said she just wants to be a mom now.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens.
I think she'll come back.
You always come back.
Yeah, because it's always there.
Because you're going to have all this
suicide.
Oh, hey. You're all going to have that shit oh, I'm a mom. I got shit to talk about. Like when you go to another phase in your life where you think that's it. I'm doing this now. It's just going to generate more creative energy. You're going to want to get back on stage. Eddie Murphy will come back to stage. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Steve Martin, he'll be back.
He'll be back,
on
baby.
His deathbed.
On his deathbed. They're going to roll him out, and he's going to have a banjo and the arrow.
I bring up Toronto, though, because the last time I was in, first of all, Toronto is the best city, and I love the attitude there. But while I was there, I was at a bar with my buddy Nestor, and he was like, "You guys have aero tag in the States?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that is."
Yeah, aero tag, no.
So aero tag is like laser tag, but with bows and arrows. And the setup, so it's like foam arrows with a foam, or maybe plastic arrows with a foam tip.
Okay.
With chalk on it or something, and it activates a suit you're wearing, and they're laid out so it's halfway between paintball and laser tag.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's so popular in Toronto that he showed me an article called "The 8 Best Places to Play Aero Tag in Toronto."
Whoa, it's like a phenomenon. It's insane that there isn't aero tag here.
It's weird.
The second you told me what it was, I'm like, there's got to be aero tags.
There has to be. So, maybe I'll open an aero tag place.
So Dave's either going to move to another city to create a comedy venue, or he's going to stay in LA and become the aero tag. He's got locations. He's got I got to go to Van Nuys. The coin machine's broken again.
I think maybe aero tag would also be a Des Moines thing.
Oh, okay. Bring aero tag to Des Moines. Also, don't steal that, Des Moines.
Yeah, don't take that.
Nobody open up aero tag or comedy venues.
Though I did tell Dan Umpton about aero tag, and he's that kind of dude. So
but it sounds like you and Dan might get collabo. He runs the aero tag, you run the comedy. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. He likes comedy too. I'm big on Dan. Maybe I'll run the aero tag.
But you could alternate every other month.
Yeah, good call.
Well, I like this idea, and I do think that it's something that you would thrive in. As I say I like this idea, I realize I've never told anybody on the podcast, I don't like that idea.
Yeah, of course.
Your exit strategy is terrible.
Well, that would be very weird.
That would be very weird. Thanks for coming to my house, but that's a dumb idea. I think that would be, I think you could find a lot of personal value in that. I think that could be something good for you.
You can see this if you've at all tracked my career, but I grew up listening to punk rock. And that's really what I want, man. So there's this band called Dillinger 4. They're great. They're from Minneapolis. They got really, really big in punk. They're not massively famous. Mm-hmm. But they got big enough to have some money and want to so that's the thing. Part of this exit strategy is I want something that sustains my living as well.
Yeah.
That sort of supplements, because I don't want to be
you
so
don't
famous
be starving
that I have
into
millions. Yeah. Well, I don't want to be starving.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, because if you're so famous, you're a millionaire in comedy, your life is awful.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It's a bummer. Yeah. So this band Dillinger 4, they bought their favorite bar, the Triple Rock in Minneapolis, and Dillinger 4 fans know Dillinger 4 plays there whenever they want. People go there who are big punk fans, but they don't get inundated. And it's this is a very real dream that I think I will do no matter what.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like you create a playground for yourself, and then you say, hey, all the weird kids in this town, all the people who don't have money, come play on my playground.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
holy fuck again, kind of.
World needs more of that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dave, now that we've
sir.
talked to your exit strategy, let's take a little break. But when we come back, I'm going to give you the opportunity to get super rich like you don't want to, because you're going to pick the sponsor for the show, and it's my hope. we're getting close. We almost got it with Matt Ingebretson and Lifeway Kefir Company. We got
Lifeway.
Lifeway Kefir tweeted back and I tried to get him the spokesperson gig. But anyway, you're going to pick the sponsor. Maybe you'll be the spokesperson for something. I don't know. We're going to find out. But we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Dave Ross. One of these days it's going to work. One of these days.
Yeah.
Because I just started a job where I do social media, like community management, which is basically just running a Twitter account for a company.
Can you say the company?
I don't want to. Okay. I almost don't even want to mention that I have a job on this podcast. I don't know why.
Will you tell me?
I'll tell you off air.
Okay. You have to tell me the company if it's the company I say that I want to get sponsored by.
Oh. It would be bizarre if it was. But what I realized is that all these companies' Twitters are just run by somebody who's bored in the afternoon.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like if you get a company that's like just like not getting a lot of tweets at it, like when we had Lifeway Kefir, like the guy who runs Lifeway Kefir's Twitter is not getting a lot of action every day. So it's like, I can get in on that.
I've had a bunch of back and forths with whoever runs the Kettle Chips Twitter account.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. They're super funny. If you look at their Twitter account, it's really, really funny.
I think it's like you're making that person's day.
Yeah.
Because you're making it, you get to like have fun with somebody
to do,
about Kettle Chips.
Totally.
Well, are we going to make someone's day? Dave, who's the sponsor going to be?
Oh, dude, Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, man. Because I was thinking about Kettle Chips again, but I've already been down this road with. The thing is that I'm like a moron, and I try to do this kind of frequently. Like
you have done. I remember you tried to get sponsored by Vans.
I tried to get sponsored by Vans as a comedian.
Yeah,
and they just followed me on Twitter and then called me an idiot, and then that was the whole thing.
Thanks, Vans.
Kettle Chips sent me free chips, but nothing past that.
Yeah, you're like, thanks.
No, but I'm talking about like wearing a Kettle Chips shirt on stage and getting a check in the mail.
Yeah, just like pay my rent, man.
Yeah. What I would really love to do would do like a tour where Kettle Chips sponsors it.
That would be kind of cool.
And then I could like drive a Scion with the Kettle Chips logo all over it, all around the country. It'd be amazing, dude.
Kettle Chips presents Dave Ross live.
Serious? Because screw it, dude.
Why didn't? But you didn't pick Kettle Chips.
No, because I don't think I've been down this road with them. We've had some fun, and it didn't go where I wanted it to go. But I'm going Trader Joe's because Trader Joe's is a massive part of my life right now.
Do tell.
Well, dude, like I said, my life is just so weird in comparison to how it has been. I'm alone all the time. I sit at home, and I'm also deeply broke, so broke. Because, I mean, sure, you get paid for a deal like that, but it doesn't come for a while, and taxes, or whatever.
Yeah, and you got to pay for all that electricity. And
so I wake up, and this is my life. I wake up every morning, I go, and I grind up some Trader Joe's coffee, and then I make coffee.
You're really going to make a meal out of
and
this
then oh, no. And then I make breakfast with eggs and produce and bread and soy riso that I bought at Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah. And then around lunchtime, I have some I bought at Trader Joe's. And then, and this is all like I write for 3 hours, make a Trader Joe's lunch, and then I write for like 4 or 5 hours, and then I make like those bags of meat. Like orange chicken or whatever. Mm-hmm. I make one of those and also some rice that I bought at Trader Joe's. And
quinoa is very inexpensive.
I also get quinoa.
You should check that out.
But I'm just more of a rice guy.
I'm a rice guy,
And so, look, I think I have all of the makings for a Trader Joe's sponsor. If at some point this will be done and I'll like go on the road again or something, and look.
You only perform at Trader Joe's.
I would love to perform at Trader Joe's.
At the sample station.
At the sample station. Would you like to sample my jokes?
And you put them in a little cup.
I literally feel this way. Like, especially coming from, like, knowing a bunch of punks, people were like, you shouldn't sell out, man. Yeah. But I don't care as long as you never tell me to change my jokes ever.
Yeah.
And also within reason. Like, I'm not going to wear, like, Trader Joe's loafers.
Selling out, it's like, grow up, man. Like, I gotta live.
Yeah, man. So, like, I'll write your newsletter.
Oh, you're going to write the, like, 10-point font.
I actually don't think I want to do that.
Yeah,
but
that wouldn't be very fun.
If you pay me, like, a lot, if you pay me what Jeff's getting paid at his job,
my job too,
then I'll write the newsletter. No, man, I eat a lot of Trader Joe's food. I feel at home in there.
I was just going to ask, you're alone and you have a lot of feelings of loneliness writing. What better place to have a human interaction than the checkout line at Trader Joe's?
Absolutely. Especially it's a place that's sort of decorated to make you feel like you're at home amongst poor people.
Where they're like, this food is very cheap, but like, it's fun.
But it's not terrible. Yeah. Half of them have racist names. Ew. It's fun.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do like Trader Ming.
Trader Ming. Kyle Kinane has a whole bit about
it's
Trader Ming.
Once you get in with the Trader Joe's family, you might be able to change that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you'll be working from the
influence.
Inside. Yeah. When you go up to the Trader Joe checkout, are you having a conversation about the food, or are you getting deeper? Because they're like, oh, that looks good. Oh, I didn't realize avocados were back. Like that bullshit.
Oh, yeah. No, I never have a conversation about the food. It never gets there. I think it's still pretty light.
Yeah.
Generally, I'm bagging. Are you a bag your own?
I'm not a bag my own.
Oh, you're a dick. You're a bad person.
I don't feel comfortable doing it because at Trader Joe's, although I've noticed a significant drop-off in quality, they have like a system of it. And I don't want to start the bagging process and then do the credit card thing, and then they have to finish because I wouldn't want to finish another person's work.
Well, okay. It sounds like perhaps you're not loading up on the amount of Trader Joe's items that I'm. Because I totally get
How
that.
many bags?
Like, I mean, I'm walking out with like 7.
Oh, okay. I'm a one bagger.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I like do like a week's worth of, like probably once a week. I'm like 2 or 3 bags.
Yeah.
And then once every 2 weeks.
I'd help for 7 bags.
You have to because there's just
there's no place to put it.
But I watch people do it. I've seen people like wait for them to like just stand there and wait while they scan and put it in a bag and then move the bag down. And it takes forever. It multiplies the amount of time it takes by 4.
Absolutely.
Some people just like refuse to help, I guess because you don't have to because it's not your job.
Get it away from me.
I don't know.
Drives me
crazy.
There's a process to it. You got to start with the bigger square items at the bottom, and sometimes those bigger square items are coming in through the checkout at the last. I'm sorry, Dave.
You're totally right. They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Trader Joe's, if you're listening, and I know you are, Dave Ross here is willing to He'll be serving up empanada samples, but while he's doing it, he's also getting paid to do a 60-minute set.
That's an interesting thing to offer up on my part. Am I willing to do that? I guess I am for the story.
You've done comedy in way worse places, let's be honest.
Dude, Jace Avery told me that he did a show on basically a powerboat. Where it was like him, 4 other comics, 2 audience members, and then the guy running it shining a light in your face. And
people will do comedy literally anywhere.
I haven't done comedy that bad yet.
Gross.
Have you ever been attacked? Have you been attacked? I've never been attacked.
Almost. You were there.
I was not there. You're talking about the open mic?
Yeah.
With
you
the
weren't
Dodgers?
There that night?
I was not there.
Oh, yeah.
I was out of town. I don't remember where I was.
I almost got attacked by an irate Dodgers fan because he was heckling at the end of the night persistently. We were screaming at him, like, stop heckling. He kept doing it. And then we were like, okay, and I don't know how this happened. We were like, okay, you go up and try to do stand-up. And he legitimately tried to do a set, like he had jokes planned, but the entire audience screamed the whole time. And it was
he'd been heckling every comedian.
It was a moment where he realized, like, oh, what I'm doing is awful.
Yeah.
And rather than be like, oh, I have empathy, he got mad and then he wanted to fight me. But
yeah, but then also wasn't it also inflamed by like, as I remember the story, you like ran up to the stage and got in his face.
Yeah, that did. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that was probably.
What did you say to him?
I
like pretty hard, isn't it?
I think I did say something. You see what happened. Yeah. But then he had to be escorted out. Oh, he was a Lakers fan, not a Dodgers fan. I just want to throw that out there. Make sure
that was the night they won, and people
it was like the parade.
Right?
So people were out there at noon drinking, and then it was 11 p.m. and they were still drinking. So that's kind of what happened. So Trader Joe's is a sponsor now that we've talked about me getting in fights. But what else is going on? Is there anything that you want? If you're listening to this podcast, is there anything that you would want people to check out?
I don't know.
I
think I've said the stuff. Good Heroin is my stand-up show. I run it with Matt Ingebretson, who's done the show. It's every Saturday night at Stories Books at 8 p.m. It's free.
Great show.
So much fun. Everyone who does this show does it. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Well, I'll get the lineups out and I'll do the work. I'll find out.
And then also Suicide Buddies. It's coming out soon.
Suicide Buddies is Dave Ross's new podcast with Mystery Science Theater's own Hampton Yount. They're going to explore suicide, a different famous suicide every week.
It's funny, Mystery Science Theater. I realized I was getting real frustrated about the comedy world nowadays earlier and saying what's tough about it. But the really cool part is that people are doing really cool things that we came up with / are coming up with.
Yeah.
Hampton being on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I mean, watch that.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
All right, Dave, thank you so much for coming out to the house, talking Hollywood, talking plans. Love seeing you, man. Let's hang out more.
We should hang out more.
Let's hang out after this right now. And
I'm down.
And good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.